Today I feel like talking a little bit about momentum. So in this channel I like to talk about everything through the lens of consciousness, if you will, or spirituality. Meaning we're looking at the material world through the eyes of consciousness, or from the perspective of consciousness. We're looking at everything, our life experience, the great mystery that we're involved in, through the lens of consciousness and spirituality. Talking about transformation in our lives, wanting to create different experiences for ourselves, wanting to transform our experiences, or wanting to create something brand new, we are dealing with the manifest world, right? However, looking through the manifest world from the perspective of consciousness, we are always riding a very interesting edge, because on one hand, we can tap into new states and vibrations, new frequencies in consciousness presently, right? Consciousness is not bound by the laws of 3D, of the 3D world. You know, the spirit identity, spirit is not bound by the limitations of 3D. And yet, whenever we set a new intention in motion, there is a certain lag that occurs in the 3D realm. And that's, I believe, is something very, very important to become very conscious of. And the analogy I'd like to present to you is that of steering a really big boat. And the bigger the boat, the bigger the lag in steering. Like if you've ever driven a boat, you'll notice that you turn the steering wheel of the boat and it takes a moment before the boat actually changes course, right? So if you have a big boat, you'll turn the steering wheel, meaning you give a direction, you make a decision, a choice, we are going this way, and you turn the steering wheel, and for a couple of seconds nothing happens. Because the boat is so heavy, the vehicle is so heavy, and it's so established in its momentum and trajectory that for a moment nothing happens when you give a new signal, right? However, you keep holding the steering wheel in a new position, you persist in that signal, and then with some delay you'll notice, the boat is turning, right? And the same thing applies to, or can apply, doesn't have to apply, but often applies to bringing change into our lives. Because oftentimes our realities are so habit-driven, they are so entrenched in deep, deep grooves of habit and patterning. And I don't even just mean behavioral pattern, but the whole mechanical configuration in which things are arranged in, right? Like there is such a depth of established pattern, like in a wind-up toy, you know, it's just like it's so established that it keeps going and round and round and round the same way, that in order to introduce change into those mechanics, there oftentimes is a delay associated with that. And one of the critical lessons to learn, I believe, at least that's been the case for me, is to persist in the new, is to persist in giving the new direction, in holding the new direction, while the mass of the old is sluggishly persisting in its old ways, right? And this could apply to anything. This could apply to personal transformation. This could be applied to transforming your company, shifting business results. It could be applied to meditation practice, spiritual practice, transcending and outgrowing an old pattern and of identity, any of that, right? And oftentimes we feel inspired, we want to make the change, we make a commitment, we set out to do it, and there is this sluggish backlash of feeling stuck in this gooey, inert mass, which appears to be the 3D world, right? And so oftentimes we try to then compensate for that with effort and sheer muscle power, right? Sheer beef. But instead of that, it's much more valuable to persist vibrationally, to persist energetically, to persist in the new stance in consciousness, right? And first and foremost, don't abandon that, you know. If you get sluggish in other aspects of life, that's fine, but don't abandon the new stance in consciousness. Stay true to that. You know, it'll open up at first, like you've accessed it when you received that inspiration, when you felt inspired, when you've experienced yourself in a state of joy in association to something. So you've accessed it. And then of course, you lose it again in the sluggishness of things. But don't be too quick to believe that sluggishness to be true. It does not represent the highest degree of reality. And it takes practice to clarify and refine that spark in you, that light in you, to honor that, and to honor it through action as well. So keep that in mind. Keep that in mind, that it takes persistence to change the momentum of something with great mass, right? So the more you're established in something, in the mass of something, the longer it can take to shift that. But it doesn't have to be long in terms of duration, in terms of time. But it can feel like you are converting a great inertia at times, right? Like as an example, if you're having a really hard time getting out of bed in the morning and you want to establish a new habit pattern of getting up very early in order to meditate or exercise or something like that, right? Or you want to get into intermittent fasting, you don't want to eat anything before 2 in the afternoon every day. But you're really, really accustomed to that breakfast first thing in the morning. That's just an example, right? For a little while, you might feel this kind of inertia in that sense, that there's this established pattern that wants to have its way. And that's where it pays off to just stay your course, stay consistent, stay persistent. Much love to you.